colleague for weighing in, because it's part of why I'm down here tonight to talk about the importance of this. Because again, I think underlying everything we do in the country is our ability to have free speech. This isn't Russia, This isn't China. This isn't name your country with, leaders that crack down when they don't like what somebody says out there. Look at the oppression to the free press and debate in some of those countries. The silencing of government critics. Fairness Doctrine is just an inch toward that. You just keep moving toward that. And you get the government deciding whether you get to keep your broadcast license or not. I mean, this stuff is real. Leaders of, frankly, those in the majority now on the Democrat side have said, we think we ought to put this back in place. The majority whip, of the Senate said that. Staff to the Speaker have indicated that. A presidential candidate on the Democrat side has indicated that this needs to be done. And I just think you don't go down that path. Now, this, again, is not a conservative or liberal fight. Free speech should never be a Republican issue or a Democrat issue. Protecting free speech should never be a Republican or Democrat issue. That's why signing the petition to bring this protection to the floor should not be a Republican or Democrat issue. We should be doing this in a bipartisan way. 300 members of this House voted for it already, in effect. So this shouldn't, I don't know what the hang-up would be. Perhaps they're not aware the petition is available. Perhaps if members don't happen to be down here tonight and there's not a full House tonight, but they may be watching, maybe others are, we can encourage them to sign the petition tomorrow. I want to tell you, too, in this context, that it's liberal viewpoints and conservative believe that we should pass H.R. 2905 and are opposed to the Fairness Doctrine. In a 2003 interview on Public Broadcasting's NewsHour with Jim Lehrer, well-known liberal talk show host Alan Colmes said, and I quote, this is Alan Colmes now, "Modern-day talk radio would not thrive if there were a Fairness Doctrine and the bureaucratic nightmare that is involved in the kind of paperwork you need to do that. The free market should be the arbiter of what flies on talk radio. That's where I want to make it, and not because I have a government help to do so." Alan Colmes, not necessarily a conservative on talk radio and TV, a liberal, and that's fine. 2007, on his own program, Hannity and Colmes, Mr. Colmes wholeheartedly agreed with a guest comment that radio hosts simply choose not to talk about controversial issues on the air when the Fairness Doctrine was in place. As managing editor and anchor of CBS News, man well known across America, Dan Rather said, and I quote, "I can recall newsroom conversations about what the FCC implications of broadcasting a particular report would be. Once a news person has to stop and consider what a government agency will think of something he or she wants to put on the air, an invaluable element of freedom has been lost." Dan Rather. Former FCC Chairman Dennis Patrick, he served on the commission between 1987 and 1989. Remarks on the Fairness Doctrine appeared in the Wall Street Journal's opinion page this summer, and he said, and I quote, "Reimposing quote-unquote fairness regulation would be a colossal mistake. The world without the Fairness Doctrine features exponentially more discussion of public issues from contrasting perspectives. The robust diversity of the blogosphere and the ideological rivalry among competing cable news channels all speak to the advantage of permitting the marketplace of ideas to make its own editorials, FCC free." These are reasons that, colleagues, you should go over here tomorrow morning when the House reconvenes and sign the discharge petition. It's a real simple thing to do. You sign twice. You initial once, sign once. When 218 members sign that, under an open rule, we will bring to the House floor for an up or down vote this bill, H.R. 2905, which would prevent the government regulators on their own, without an act of Congress, from reinstituting censorship of the public's airwaves. This bill will stop that. And my friend Congressman Mike Pence from Indiana and I, both who have spent time in the broadcast industry, encourage you to do this. Again, more than 300 members of the U.S. House voted to prohibit the FCC from using funds to reinstate the Fairness Doctrine. 113 of the 309 that stood up for freedom during a vote on the Pence Amendment were Democrats. So we know that there are 113 members on this side of the aisle who've already voted against reinstituting the Fairness Doctrine. In fact, voted to make sure no money was spent by the agency to reinstitute the Fairness Doctrine. So just one of you, 2 of you, 3, 4, 5, 20. We'll take 20 members, sign it, and this will come to the floor. Only one Democrat has co-sponsored this bill. Every single Republican is a co-sponsor of this legislation. One Democrat has, and we appreciate that, and we welcome more members of the Democrat side, the party that often speaks on this floor about protecting civil rights and speech. Help us protect free speech over the public's airwaves by both co-sponsoring H.R. 2905 and by signing the discharge petition. The petition, it's all it is. Just the petition to bring it to the floor. Even if you don't happen to support the bill, H.R. 2905, the Broadcaster Freedom Act. Sign the discharge petition. We're bringing this issue up under an open rule. You can offer up an alternative. You can offer up several alternatives. That's what America should be about, is the ability to offer up alternatives on this floor among members of Congress who are elected by the people to get the people's work done, not to take away their rights, not to take away their free speech rights, not to be the nanny that tunes their radio for them, but rather to protect these fundamental constitutional rights that men and women who have worn our nation's uniform have shed blood and died to protect and preserve. So that we, this generation, would have the ability to continue to debate issues. And as annoying as that can be to some, depending upon your viewpoint on the issue, it should never be annoying that we protect this right. This is a fundamental right of America and Americans to be able to debate, discuss, without government interference, the political issues of the day. And by their nature, if they are interesting, they are probably controversial. And if they are controversial, they probably do need to be debated. And out of that debate, we'll have a better outcome. We will all learn from listening to the opposing viewpoints. But we won't hear any of it if the Fairness Doctrine's back in place, because we saw what happened between 1949 and 1987. There was no talk radio to speak of, certainly not vigorous talk radio. And I'm not saying you have to agree with Alan Colmes. I'm not saying you have to agree with Lars Larson or Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity. In fact, you can pick what you want. But do you really want to leave in place the opportunity for federal regulators, without a vote of this chamber, to put back in place a flawed regulation that we know chills free speech, that reduces speech on political issues at all? Do you want to leave that opening there for the next administration to have 3 commissioners of the 5 make that decision for you? 3 unelected commissioners, and I respect them all, believe me. But that's not how government should work on an issue as critical as free speech and protecting free speech rights. And so I encourage you tonight, think about it. Think about it. Think about those who have come before us, about those who have worn America's uniform to protect our free speech rights. And ask yourself, how hard is it to walk right over here and sign the petition to allow an up or down vote on protecting free speech rights on America's radio and television broadcast station? With that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to address our colleagues in the United States House of Representatives. I encourage them once again, sign the petition, bring H.R. 2905 to the floor of the Broadcaster Freedom Act, protect the free speech rights of even those talk show hosts you vehemently disagree with, because silencing those hosts is the worst thing a government could do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.